So let's keep now the track in agriculture, seeing now the response of the United Nations International Fund for Agricultural Development to the pandemic.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for inviting IFAD to the 2020 edition of the Brazil-Africa Forum. The COVID-19 pandemic is an unprecedented challenge to modern society and calls for a global response. It's estimated that in the worst-case scenario, the economic impact of the pandemic could push a further 500 million people into poverty. We risk a lost decade of development. The United Nations Secretary-General launched a call for solidarity for urgent and coordinated global action to save lives and to address the social and economic impact of the pandemic to help countries recover better. From our experience, it's often the poorest and most vulnerable in societies that are disproportionately affected by such shocks. Given the particular impact that the pandemic has on the agricultural sector, with disrupted access to inputs, markets, and services, it's crucial to provide support to small-scale farmers to mitigate the impact of the pandemic and address food security. As a short-term response to the crisis, and in line with the United Nations Secretary-General call for action, in April 2020, IFAD launched a multi-donor COVID-19 Rural Poor Stimulus Facility, or RPSF. This is designed to provide inputs and assets for the production of crops, livestock, and fisheries, as well as facilitating access to markets for those poorest small-scale farmers. IFAD has made an initial $40 million investment, and we aim to mobilize an additional $200 million for the facility. The RPSF is designed to safeguard the food security and resilience of poor rural people by ensuring timely access to inputs, information, markets, and liquidity. So far, demand from our member states has been huge, with demand far greater than the funds we have available. Through the RPSF, with our development partners, we're supporting our member states mitigate the impacts of the crisis and to rebuild rural economies with the aim of eradicating rural poverty and hunger. A key element of the RPSF is the promotion of digital services, information and communication technologies. These play a key role in facilitating access to reliable information on production, weather, finance, and markets. Although rural connectivity has been a persistent constraint, particularly in the last mile, we see an opportunity through the pandemic of really trying to make sure that small-scale farmers have access to these types of support and services. For example, under the RPSF, IFAD is collaborating with an organization called Precision Agriculture for Development. This partnership aims at providing agricultural information to small-scale farmers through their mobile phones, with a final goal of improving their resilience.
And the farmers.
Üreticilerin toprak sağlığını anlaması ve toprak koruyucu uygulamalarla ilgili bilgi sahibi olması, aynı zamanda uzun yıllar boyunca kaliteli ürün alabilmeleri için toprakla ilgili bilgilerinin artması gerekiyor. Bu nedenle bu uygulama Türkiye üreticileri için çok önemli.
These solutions have great potential to be shared with other countries facing similar challenges brought on by this pandemic. Exchange of information, knowledge, and experiences is at the heart of IFAD's strategy to contribute to rural development in the face of this pandemic. In this context, SouthSouth and Triangular Cooperation offers an extremely strong platform to enhance collaboration and knowledge sharing among countries.
SouthSouth and Triangular Cooperation involves the exchange of know-how and financial resources between developing countries in the Global South. It has become a key component of the international development architecture. As such, SSTC is a key contributor to achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. It does so by tackling structural global challenges which have been recently magnified by the still unfolding COVID-19 pandemic. Owing to its global mandate as an investor in rural people, IFAD embraced SouthSouth Triangular Cooperation as an integral part of its business model and one of its key engagement modalities to foster sustainable and inclusive rural transformation in the Global South. To that end, IFAD worked collaboratively with all stakeholders and partners to step up its involvement in SSTC. One noticeable recent development is the launch of the Rural Solutions Portal, an interactive web-based platform dedicated to disseminating proven rural development solutions which have the potential to be deployed at scale. A core feature of the portal is the emphasis on the adaptability and the replicability of the shared practices. This is particularly the case for solutions involving information and communication technologies, ICT, meant to foster the uptake of digital agriculture among smallholders and rural entrepreneurs, the main beneficiaries of IFAD investment deployed in the Global South. A case in point is the development of the Harvest It application within the framework of a regional SSTC project encompassing 10 countries in the Near East North Africa region. This mobile app is used to deliver personalized information and recommendations about soil management, irrigation, forage and milk production, and other farm management practices. Users can easily gather and cross-correlate critical data to make meaningful and timely decisions that can improve yields and boost profitability while minimizing expenses. The portal is also featuring other digital solutions for marketing, such as the one developed within the IFAD Morocco program. The solution is an online trading platform allowing sheep breeders to market their animals, especially during the religious festivities when demand spikes. In so doing, farmers from remote rural areas can sell their sheep more efficiently and at a higher farm gate price, foregoing the middleman. Multiple other examples in Africa and Asia are being currently put in place under the IFAD Rural Poor Stimulus Facility as part of the fund's response to the current crisis. Efforts to bridge the digital divide between the IT-enabled and those disconnected came to the fore recently in view of the restrictions on movements and associated constraints for in-person delivery of training and business advisory services, which are required to boost productivity and improve the livelihood of rural inhabitants. IFAD launched the Rural Poor Stimulus Facility to respond to the crisis and earmarked more than a quarter of its resources to support the use of digital technologies. The emphasis is being put on achieving quick wins by replicating existing solutions through our various SSTC initiatives.
Great projects, and let's deepen now IFAD's strategy and try to understand what kind of actions are needed for alleviating hunger on a global scale. This is a special interview with President Gilbert Houngbo. So, hi Michelle.
Hello Caroline, and welcome to everyone joining us at the Brazil-Africa Forum. I'm very pleased to be joined by the President of IFAD, Gilbert Houngbo. The COVID-19 pandemic has put multiple constraints to the normal operation of national economies. How are governments supposed to deal with the impacts of the pandemic?
You know, this pandemic, what it has caused to the government is the challenge of, on one hand, having to be decisive in managing the health pandemic dimension, the crisis dimension, and therefore the short-term need, the humanitarian dimension on one hand, and on the other hand, maintaining a minimum on the socio-economic activity, the livelihood activity. So it's somehow kind of very difficult balancing act between lives, saving lives, and saving livelihood, in fact. On one hand, we believe that globally speaking, the world has done pretty much good job when you think about where we were, the fact that nobody was really prepared for this pandemic. So through the health information, now the guidance in terms of social distancing, the treatment or the testing, all of that, I believe, is going very well. And obviously, we also have seen a lot of government, most all government at a different dimension, all governments really putting into consideration or in place a very specific actions to protect social safety nets and to making sure that the economic dimension is not too much damaged. And so that has been very quite positive in my view. The challenge that we need to all of us collectively work on is to bring together the short-term requirement and the long-term, the medium to long-term requirement, where the policies have to address the medium and long-term requirement in a way that next time, next shock we will have, that we are better prepared. And we are already seeing it during this so-called second wave.
Vulnerable communities, especially in rural areas, are seriously affected by the pandemic. Social distancing forced the interruption of contacts in local markets and food producers, while the disease itself killed tens of thousands without proper access to quality healthcare. What should be done to protect rural communities? And will they leave this situation weaker than before?
Yeah, I'm very much concerned as president of IFAD, the International Fund for Agricultural Development, or even on a personal note, I'm quite very much concerned about the impact COVID is having on the rural communities, and in places like Africa, in some places in Asia, the rural communities, the small-scale farmers, they produce 80% of the food. So you could imagine the impact that is having. So what is happening is that the cases may have not been dramatic in the rural communities, but the fact that the borders were shut down and the disruption of the whole value chain in the agriculture sector, the food sector, has hit hard the rural communities, which do not even have a basic social security or social protection. So they have quite been hitting very hard. That calls us to ensure that we don't forget the rural community in designing or implementing our global plan to respond to the COVID, be it from a health dimension or a social and economic dimension. What COVID has also revealed is the necessity for us to more and more create economic opportunities in the rural setting. It's not just in the big or medium-sized cities. We really need also to create economic opportunities in the rural settings.
Countries are fighting this pandemic with different approaches and policies, leading to many contrasting outcomes. What were the main lessons that the international community learned from these different approaches?
Yeah, that has been quite fascinating. Of course, naturally, each country has gone in a way of acting in solo, closing borders, talking to others, but acting alone. But clearly, what COVID has demonstrated that in face of a global pandemic, you need a global response. That is a need for a much more cooperation, a much more collaboration between countries in the region and even a global perspective. Let's face it, we know that the impact is global. Last week again, the IMF Managing Director Kristalina Georgieva was reminding us during the development committee that IMF expect a 4.4% downturn in the global economy, although it might be picking up next year. So what I mean here is that the negative impact, we all are facing it. So it is important that from health to the economic recovery, we act globally. A typical example is when everything comes to stop. When producers cannot have access to seeds or access to fertilizers, particularly in low-income countries where we do not have strong institutions, is only by bringing together both the different actors in this whole value chain, and which can imply different sector and or different countries at the regional level. So that coordination is essential. It's going to be the same with when the vaccine will be available. We know that, thank God, a lot of countries are already getting ready to produce the vaccine once the vaccine will be ready. So under the great work that WHO is also doing. So, but here again is only at the international cooperation level that we can make sure that every single citizen has access to the vaccine when it becomes available, and that nobody is left behind.
What has IFAD identified as good practices in overcoming COVID-19? And how can these be replicated and scaled up in other parts of the organisation?
You know, it might look a very, very small thing. Let me bring this up. What has been amazing to me is using the local community organizations. And what quickly we have noticed is that given our ongoing project, which itself already involves organizing our local communities in a local setting, by using those existing communities and organizations has helped us to pass the message, both the health information as well as the minimum guidance in terms of social distancing, and also discussing with them to ensure how do we go about our social economic activity in the context of respecting social distancing. And that has helped us a lot in keeping some activities going on.
And I wonder if you can give us other examples of places where IFAD has helped.
Oh, there's a lot of examples what IFAD has been doing. I can give you an example in El Salvador or in Senegal, or in India. I mean, we as I'm speaking to you, we have about 100 projects in close to 70 countries where we have received requests to really repurpose the ongoing activity in a way to help the countries to better respond to the socio-economic impact of the COVID. It's important to say that IFAD is not intervening on the humanitarian dimension, but on the impact from the socio-economic viewpoint, namely for our small-scale producers. So we have been working with the government in a way for us to make sure that we can repurpose those activities. And what we're doing, it varies. In some countries is to help them having access to seed because everybody come to a standstill. Or in Brazil, for example, where we put the community we are working with, we organize them to link up with a platform that the UN Compact has established, and therefore they can create a market for their product through that platform. Or in Bangladesh, where we have worked with the government to ensure that the policy response does include heavily the small-scale holders, or in other countries where we help the communities by prepaying the month ahead in terms of what they owe to the microcredit, the local microcredits, because nothing is moving, their activity are not done, so they were almost in default of payment. So to avoid the problem they can have, we advance resources to pay what they owe to the microfinance institution. So it varies at the point of help, but it's gratifying to see that IFAD can respond to such a variety of needs in so many countries.
IFAD is a key player in the promotion of rural development at a global level, which entails responsibilities of many natures. How has IFAD's agenda adapted to this new challenge? And what initiatives have been developed by the organisation to overcome this pandemic, as well as to prepare for the future challenges of a similar nature?
No, I wouldn't say that IFAD is contributing to overcoming the pandemic, given that we are not in the health sector. We leave that to others that are the health as part of their mandate. But where we have been focusing is on this, as I mentioned earlier, on the socio-economic dimension. So in addition to repurposing our activities, as I described a little bit earlier, what we have done is to create a stimulus package, which we put $40 million, and now our member states, some of our donors have also put equivalent of somewhere the same amount, to use that in the countries that are mostly affected and that we know are already the poorest country in the world, trying to really have specific activities helping them to cope. So some of the activities I mentioned, like access to seed, these are what this initiative is doing, is maybe having these resources, specifically getting the seed and finding ways to deliver that to the country, although borders may be closed. And again, this stimulus package is financing different type of activity, which has been decided on by discussing with the government and making sure that the government is in the driver's seat, and also by working with the rest of our UN colleagues on the ground.
Brazil has an important history in conciliating large-scale agribusiness and smallholder farming, leading to an institutional and legal framework that manages to defend the rights of small-scale producers. What is the possibility, and what should we do better to achieve this in other regions of the world, to increase productivity, generate jobs and improve food security? Sometimes people see the commercial farming as against or in opposition to small-scale farming. And I want to argue that they are in fact complementary on that. To answer your question, what could be done, and I know very well that Brazil is quite very well advanced in that. So, and this is one of what this forum, the forum, Brazil-Africa Forum, is also trying to achieve. One is through this South-South cooperation, trying to see, okay, how the experience from Brazil can be profitable and usable by others, and vice versa. What are the experience in others, be it in Africa, be it in Asia, or within the region in Latin America, can also be profitable to Brazil and Brazil farmers. So one is through the South-South cooperations. Two is by seeing how very often the Brazil experience has been useful in terms of creating the commercial farmers, creating some kind of a domestic market for the small-scale producers, which could help them. A typical example, when you have commercial farmers in the processing, they can have a processing plant that can absorb not only their own production, but also the production of the small-scale farmers, and therefore becoming an internal domestic market. There's a lot and I think the forum, the Brazil-Africa Forum, is a very good vehicle to help us really disseminating this positive experience that we know Brazil has had for many years now. And finally, to the people watching here today, what message would you like to give to them?
First of all, is clearly that we all are right now focusing on the pandemic, on the crisis. So my thought to all those that have lost some of the family members, or those that have gone through it and survived it, my special thought to them. And I do think that while we all say that the day after is not going to be the same norm, still that I'm very, very hopeful. Of course, we will overcome that. The most important thing is how are we, or can we be better prepared to face the next shock? Today is the pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic. Yesterday was a tsunami in a different part of the world. Tomorrow, we don't know what tomorrow reserves us. So to me, investing in resilience is going to be crucial. Investing in resilience, making sure that every single human being has access to minimum social safety net is going to be crucial. And that, I think, Brazil, again, has a good experience to share and through the SouthSouth cooperations. So it's going to be crucial looking at different ways to build the resilience, particularly of the most fragile part of our society, be it in a rural or in urban setting.
Thank you for your time, Mr. President.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you to IFAD for these amazing interviews, President Houngbo, and also Michelle for conducting this special interview.